The Glowing Sea is a tricky place in Fallout 4. It's full of rads, full of dangerous creatures, but also full of interesting stories and unmarked locations for us to find, as well as some power armor, so let's get into it. We will also be viewing it like you've never seen it before, with the rad storms cleared on a sunny day. In the middle of this crater is a settlement to the children of Adam, and it's where our first little story begins. So, you want to head on over to Mother Isidel, and she has a note on her that you can pickpocket from her that belonged to one of the children of Adam. This is the note from Brother Huberman. Mother Isidel, we have found the cave where this Virgil resides, southwest of the crater. It is defended as you suspected. Now, the bit that's cut off states, we will not act against him until we have heard from you, or a sign from Adam himself. The thing about Brother Huberman is he's not actually in the game. Or is he? We are going to go and find where could be his final resting place. Two more notes about the crater of Adam, though. Located in the southwestern portion of the map here. It houses the children of Adam, and it has a skill book. Upstairs and easily missed is this astoundingly awesome tale. 5% extra damage against ghouls, and boy, you'll be seeing a lot of them around here. The other thing is there is actually a merchant that you can find wandering about here. Found either in the main building or off to the side here praying. Brother Ogden sells a variety of items and is the only trader in the Glowing Sea. Now our story takes us westward towards the decayed reactor site to find Brother Huberman. This reactor once provided a lot of power across the Commonwealth. Now it lies only in ruins, but we normally only see it under the cover of storms. Removing that cover gives us a completely different perspective. You can see the two massive cooling tanks at the back, as well as a control room at the front. But what is more interesting is what lies inside one of the coolant tanks. It appears a Deathclaw has made its home, but more interesting is the Children of Adam corpse that's lying behind him. Interestingly, this is the only unnamed Children of Adam that you can find in the Glowing Sea that isn't in the Sentinel site, meaning this is probably Brother Huberman and they just didn't name the corpse. We know he was observing Virgil down at the rocky cave, and given the distance between the reactor site and the cave itself, it's not hard to imagine that on his travel back to the crater he was ambushed by a Deathclaw who promptly brought it back to his nest. As for the inside of the reactor, it plays a loop about it going into immediate meltdown, and if you hit the circuit breaker, it activates the alarm and just continues the loop. That's pretty much everything you can do here. Now, there is a little interesting thing not too far down the hill, and that is the remains of this old factory, which is surprisingly still standing somewhat after the bombs fell. But the best part about it is this guy right here in the middle, who's just been completely stuck in the exact position when the bombs fell, and as you can see, it's definitely an eerie warning about this place. If you need some vital components though, going into this part will net you everything you might need. Sensor modules, Radaway Rad-X, and even over here you've got another sensor module. Now what's so good about them? As a junk item, they have 5 circuitry and 2 copper, which is not something you find an awful lot of, so taking advantage of getting these two is quite good. Now, there are stories of a bus of tourists that, let's just say, weren't too far away from the blast zone. They're located just west of the decrepit factory in the middle of nowhere. And boy oh boy, does this site not disappoint. There is a glowing one in charge of the remains of these ghouls and the scattering of suitcases. Were they tourists? Were they refugees? It's hard to tell, but the steamer trunk you can pick up is definitely worth the trip, and there is even a duffel bag full of pre-war money. It's not the only boss like this we'll find. We'll actually find one in the Hope's March Pentecostal Church later on in the video. Now, exactly where this is between the reactor and the factory site. Now, let's move on to a sunken super duper mart. This buried structure might make you think it is a Super Duper Mart. In fact, this is the parking lot. The Super Duper Mart itself is right here. The exact same model from Lexington. You could imagine if we could somehow get inside it, it would have been full of very irradiated food, if any. Now, the parking lot is guarded by a few rad scorpions. If that doesn't deter you, well done. You are in for quite the treat. That's because this place gives absolutely no warning for what you're about to encounter. There's a few ghouls, and there's even a wee cooking spot to show that someone at some point had a bit of a camp here, and they had quite a bit of Danny Boy apples. You can open the master lock security gate and get yourself another steamer trunk and some supplies. Take out the ghouls, and then you'll realise the only way down is through an opening in this bus. And again, nothing seems too out of the ordinary. It's when you drop down you really realise what you've done. You are stuck down here with a not so friendly friend. This Deathclaw will not be pleased at you disturbing his nest. If you want the steamer trunk, you have to run by him. Now, it is possible to completely ignore him and just bypass him. You'll need some very high AP. Maybe a Nuka-Cola Quantum could certainly help. As for exiting, you just walk out here and take some first aid. Boy, if you fought him, you might really need them. And we'll take the elevator out and see where it takes us. I suppose I've never really thought about it. You could go down the elevator route. It's located just behind the sign. And I guess it gives you an express way to fight the Deathclaw. You can see the glowing sea rolls in quite fast. But it's a completely different atmosphere in the day. Like, completely. Now, let's head on over to Hope's March Church, which is just a little ways east. This place is pretty much just north of the southern cave, because there's two caves, and west of the Vertibird wreckage. One of two churches we're going to encounter in the glowing sea. This one is fairly difficult to deal with because of the high quantity of ghouls you can find. Not that the other church is much easier. You're going to find out very quickly that is certainly not the case. And with the addition of the new update, you actually get sent here for a gunner. Now, there is a safe key that can be found just underneath the pew there, unlocking the safe. And you can read the note, which gives a bit of an idea as to what was going on here. This was from Mrs. Hart. Since I won't be here for tonight's service, I've hidden the key to the safe underneath the pew behind you. If you happen to need to access it for whatever reason, thank you for handling the office duties tonight. Keep the key with you. I'll get it next Wednesday. Thanks again, Mrs. Klein. Jumping down, I did promise you a second boss, and you're going to get just that. Also, the floor is flammable. If that makes things easier, why not? Steamer trunks inside this perfectly placed bus. And I say perfectly placed. Lots of pre-war money in a duffel bag. Seems a lot of people were running with money. It's right at the entrance, and it's buried under maybe like 20, 25 feet of debris. So if it wasn't in this perfect position, never know. You could consider it quite the miracle. With Hope's March out of the way, we have returned to the highway. This is the Deathclaw Highway, as it has a large number of Deathclaws. You guessed it. There is a little story about a safety deposit box being moved, or a number of them, inside of this container. All the safes are open and free for the taking. Some of them contain items, some of them have just been blasted open. But considering you don't have to do anything to open them, it's a pretty good amount of loot in the middle of what is a derelict wasteland, just west of the northern point of the northern cave and the Hope's March Church. Heading a little further west, and not a lot further, you can find this Red Rocket Station, long abandoned, except from the Rad Scorpions. They don't mind it. Let's head on inside. It's got the same layout we've all come to love, just like the one at the Red Rocket truck stop. But pressing this button gives you access to a safe that hopefully should have some supplies. And there is a master lock safe in the back. So if you've got the ability, crack it open. It doesn't have anything super unique in it, but it is certainly worthwhile. And who doesn't love discovering something that's not on the map? Right beside the cave. I really think this should have been the fast travel point, but instead they decided to just have two caves. Strange design choice. Speaking of the northern cave, the entrance to it is just opposite the Red Rocket Station. not that far away. Inside, you will be greeted with a guest in the form of this rad scorpion. If they're very polite, they might move out of our way. Or they might just mosey on. There we go. And a third bus. Wow, we have definitely been spoilt today. Now, the reason for this cave is just to provide you a little bit of cover from the nasty amount of enemies that you might find. Exiting out here and looking directly over to the right is the Deathclaw Highway. So if you're in a bit of a rush and you need to jump for cover, head straight on in. Now it's time for the Southern Cave, aptly named Cave. Inside there is a signal emanating a raider distress call, but this video has went on long enough without finding some power armor, so now we get the only raider power armor suit that you can find just on its own, sitting about. And once you get that, we'll be heading our way on to the Skylanes flight next, while we pass all the glorious wildlife. This Skylanes Air has a few curious things going on about it. Firstly, it's in pieces, and if you're doing the best of 3 quest line, Carrion will be found inside of this one, or the last body. When you find the body, you'll find Carrion. Now, inside there are 2 trapdoors which catch out a lot of players. There's one here, and there's one over here. This one doesn't work. The other one leads you to an area where it's radiation free, which is quite the rare commodity when you're in the glowing sea. As for what you can find on the aircraft, there's an abundance of suitcases in the lower section, as well as a hidden compartment. The only thing is, you do have to kind of target the right side of it, and it's a master lock. You may be given a key from a random encounter with a person who sends you to find these compartments on the wreckages of Skylane flights, but it is very rare that you encounter them, and if you're high enough level, it may even have some Gauss rifles inside. As for the steamer trunk, it's found over here, next to the circuit breaker, which, activating it just really turns that red light on, and nothing else. Once you grab all those supplies, if you want to hear a wee bit of a story about it, you can find the flight data recorder. This one actually seen the nuclear blast. Funny enough, because it's so close to the glowing sea. And the last trapdoor, it just opens and closes. That one doesn't do anything, so a lot of players assume that's the one, but this is the real deal. Because who doesn't want to hang out in a completely radiation-free part of the glowing sea? Quite the exclusive club. Not much else is happening in here. You can get yourself some supplies, maybe heal up, and there is another circuit breaker. But again, flicking it doesn't do all that much. Now, let's head back out using the ladder, not the trapdoor. And there's in fact a few things that we can look at. One is this massive farm, a few grain silos, well, what's left of them, and a large combine harvester guarded by a few blood bugs. It's a pretty cool piece of equipment. You find one of them near Sunshine Tidings Co-op, which is in a little bit better condition, I could say. And if you go from Skylane's flight over to the southeast, you can see something off in the distance. It's a little unusual. The closer you get, the more you realise, that's not good. And the Deathclaw will promptly jump up. It is level dependent, so you could get a very nasty one at a high level. This is definitely worth showing on the map. It's just southeast of Skylane's flight 1665, and the farm is just due north of it. So, now that we've arrived here, let's go to one of my favourite locations, O'Neill Family Manufacturing. Now, some of you may be familiar with this place, but did you know there is an unmarked location directly over here? If you just slightly edge across the pipe and down, you can find some more of the O'Neills. At least, I presume they are. The chem box is a pretty nice find as well. This place is guarded by rad scorpions and the remainder of the O'Neill family, and the only way to get inside here is to unlock the terminal. So if we head on into the workshop here, down the staircase, and into this final room, you'll find a pretty tough ghoul. Usually it's a withered one. If you need to work on your power armor, there's a station here, as well as a guaranteed sentry bot model kit. So if you're missing one, this is where you can find this cool little guy. Now, let's have a look at the terminal. If we open the roof access, we can get in there and see how the O'Neills are coping. And we've got the repair shop terminal. After all, that's what they did here. So William Thomas was a customer. His problem was Mr. Handy randomly lost the ability or his mobility and fell to the ground about 4 times a day. Asked if he knew what could cause this issue, and Will reported seeing the neighbourhood kids throwing baseballs at the robot. However, no physical damage upon inspection. It took them 16 hours of labour to get this report together. Although no physical harm was noticed, one of the guys did find loose screws inside. Upon further inspection, it was determined that the propulsion fail switch was being activated by one or more of the loose screws, causing the Mr. Handy to fall to the ground. Jared Bean had brought in his Mr. Handy after noticing it was constantly bumping into things around the house. Took 8 hours, and the report was that 2 of the 3 optical sensors had been wired incorrectly, causing the bot to mistranslate incoming data and its surroundings. This bot was so heavily modified, I'm sure it's breaking all kinds of federal law. Jessica McCann came in. She brought her company's Protectron after several co-workers complained of a mildew smell coming from the bot. When asked about any potential causes, Jessica reported that the company did host a happy hour last week and things may have got a little out of control. The Protectron may or not have been involved in a pool party. 4 hours of labour and the lower compartment was completely filled with water. Drained, cleaned, rinsed and dried. What an interesting little, collection of stories as to the robots of this pre-war world and what would have happened to them. I'm sure when we reach a stage where robotics are a very common sight, things like that will probably occur. Now that we've been given access, the weather has turned a little bit. You can see the Sentinel site in the background. We can actually meet the O'Neill family. At least, I'm pretty sure it is the O'Neills. It would have been cool if they could have been named after some of the employees. Not that we know any of the names. Although we do from the terminal, I suppose. Maybe these are the O'Neills. The lucky ones, anyway. The steamer trunk in here can contain some pretty good loot, and killing the rest of them, it's kind of a prize. Some unlucky soul apparently didn't even get in. There is a very large number of Deathclaw patrol routes, probably a dozen or so in the Glowing Sea, and this one just northwest of the O'Neill family manufacturing near the crater of Adam is one you're definitely wanting to look out for. If you keep following the patrol route of that Deathclaw, you'll eventually come to what appears to be the remains of an old substation with, you guessed it, another Deathclaw. And if you walk a little way further, you will eventually reach the crater itself. Eventually, you'll come across this familiar sight. This is another Stingray, but this one actually has some military-grade circuit boards for the taking, which is pretty awesome. It's no question that the nuclear detonation caused it to just fall out of the sky and crash here, but it must have been going at some height as it just plummeted, and its final resting place is here. Part of the wing can be found not that far away with, you guessed it, another military-grade circuit board, so definitely worth visiting. Okay, so now you've arrived at the Rocky Cave, where Virgil resides. What will you find outside it? Well, just a sleepy boy who... Well, he's still sleeping, so we certainly won't disturb him. Let's head on inside and find out everything we need to know about Virgil. So, this green super mutant scientist from the Institute has a few interesting things about him here. Firstly, the Tesla magazine. You'll want to pick it up pretty quickly. Rocket Science for Toddlers, giving you a permanent 5% critical damage, which is pretty awesome. Don't take anything. He won't be happy if you decide to start stealing. And he won't be here if you haven't done the quest yet. So you can come and presumably he's out scavenging or doing something. Once you've got the magazine, everything in here is for a super mutant. You can even find a little super mutant aviator cap, though he never wears it. The bed and this massive pot. Now, take note of those things because it's pretty cool. If you cure him, this entire place changes a little. Well, at least the bed and the cooking station. So I'll show you that afterwards. And if we go over to his terminal here, you can see his log entries. Found an old terminal in a repair shop. Needed repaired. Got it working. Hard to type. Fingers too big. Still looking for materials for serum. Only hope now. Presumably, might have got it over at the O'Neill's family repair shop. Materials are hard to find. Glowing Sea too damaged by war. Did not fully consider implications. Was only thinking of survival. Safety from anyone trying to follow. You can see his big fingers is hitting multiple characters when he's typing. People in the crater may be able to help. Mentally unstable, but apparently immune to radiation. Holdren would love them. Hoping they have larger keyboard. Children of Adam cannot help, they are just as starved for materials, but are too proud to admit desperation. Occasionally losing feeling in extremities, slight gaps in memory, trying to remain positive, but if condition deteriorates, need to reproduce serum soon. And as the last one, serum can't be made here, tools unavailable, hands too clumsy to perform any delicate actions, typing getting harder, makes me too angry. No way back in to get original sample of serum, must consider that my condition may be permanent, and as we know, it's only going to get worse. You can also get a mini nuke that's hiding underneath. Anything you want to steal, you can just grab it, lift it out of sight, and he won't really bother you if you walk away. He's also got a unique rifle, which I'll show you here. His rifle here can be obtained by either killing him, taking it off him via pickpocket, or I believe he actually gives it to you if you complete his whole quest line. Now, another little point whilst you're in the area. Don't kill the turrets or the Protectron. It actually fails the quest and is quite a bummer because a lot of people think it's okay to kill them if Virgil's not here until the quest starts. But that's not the case. Once you give him the serum in return, we'll find a Virgil, a human one. And as I said, he changes his bed and the cooking station to a non-super mutant one, which is pretty cool. Strong, not impressed, because Strong is not too happy that Virgil is a human now. Back over towards O'Neill's, you'll find the Ghoul Trench. This place, with the ghoul that just seemingly vanished there, is crawling with, you guessed it, ghouls. Why a pack of them are here, it's not very well known. But what I would say is maybe they don't gel too well with the rest of the wildlife, so sticking into this little trench gives them a bit of protection from Deathclaws and Rad Scorpions in the nearby area, although when you do arrive they are sometimes engaged in a bit of combat anyway. But their neighbours are a little less forgiving. If you move slightly further north, you'll actually find that this is also a Scorpion Trench, which carries on northwards towards the likes of the Capsize Factory, which is coming up next. And just before we reach the factory is this conveniently placed medical supplies in what was once a massive grand house, now completely buried. Imagine making it. You made your millions, you sold your company, and then the war breaks out. Oh, there also appears to be someone watching us in the distance. Another Deathclaw. No surprise there. This place is abundant with them. Right, so more scorpions just chilling around here. So we've arrived at the Capsized Factory. One of the few places in the game, in fact I think the only place in the game, where you can see the original road of the Glowing Sea. All you have to do is fight through a number of ghouls that are conveniently placed in here. And head over to the right. Once one crawls from the ceiling, normally a glowing one, we can wander past them and boom! The road. It exists. Now, we're probably under, again, about 20-25 feet of debris, but it's really interesting to just see it sitting out there. Now, once you take out all the ghouls, you can wander around to the other side of the factory. This would have been a brilliant place for, I don't know, some really nice loot at the end. There's some RadAway chems before you make your way over. In fact, there is a lot of RadAway. There's 5 RadAway, so again, you're trading a lot of ammunition and killing ghouls for, you know, a bit of radiation protection. But if you made it this far, you should probably have already had a lot of RadAway on you. Oh, there's even more up here. Okay, this place is swimming in RadAway. You don't even have to fight the ghouls for them 3. Just walk through here. I say you don't have to fight the ghouls, but you'll have to fight everything else in order to make it anywhere even close to this place. Now on to probably the biggest glow up. See what I did there? In the game, the Atlantic offices, they went from an absolutely useless location that no one ever really visited to what I can safely say is one of the best. Enclave headquarters time. That guy with the Tesla cannon, he will try and kill you if you come even close to this area. The fun begins when you walk in here. You get locked in. Locked in with all the Enclave. And these boys aren't here to play. They are well equipped, well armed, and you can use the terminal there to open this little supply bit. Every room has Enclave crates and lots of ammunition for you to take. Not to mention killing each and every one of them will just add to your overall arsenal of weaponry. Into the next section, more troops, more soldiers, more turrets. Again, take them all out. Show President Eden exactly what's up. And we can actually find the commander on the bottom level. Now in here is full of Tesla traps. Get by them. Get down to the bottom. And you can find the Enclave Colonel. Now, take him out. And you can pick yourself up the terminal password as well as the Colonel uniform, which is just really cool to wear about. Then we can go over and use his terminal using the password. And we can have a little read about here. So, communications, there's a lot of orders that are sent back and forth here. Redacted, but essentially this was sent to Major Elias from the field headquarters. Major, this has been duly noted. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has been identified as a viable location for a permanent base of operations. Should your current mission proceed without issue, we will allocate more resources for your mission. In the meantime, I recommend you identify locations that would make an ideal large headquarters. If it matters not if civilians currently reside, they can be removed. Current orders, the field headquarters and encampment have been operational with minimum issues. Equipment recovery has been proceeding at an acceptable rate, and I believe this pace could be accelerated if further personnel could be allocated to our mission. Hellfire armor findings. The trader has informed us that a member of the Forge uses armor matching the description of Hellfire power armor. The trader last saw this individual close to the listening station Bravo. We will arrange a recon squad shortly. So the mission expands where you can go out and find a bit more Enclave. But the main thing on this is actually all of the camps that you can find. So it goes on to talk about the heavy incinerator that can be found in the Saugus Ironworks, which you do need to do a bit of a quest line. That's the Crucible in order to get it. Then local trader that was captured, passed in close proximity. They believe they may have valuable information. I think that was actually meant to be a little further up. But then we have the Tesla cannon, which may in fact be in close proximity to the field headquarters. Until confirmed, hold off any operations related to it. You find it over at Skylanes. Again, it's the best of 3 quest. All these are provided free with the new update. So if you haven't already done it, highly recommend. They're not only really cool quests, but they net you really awesome new items. And then I'm delighted to report that we have finalized our encampment. The squad has been briefed and we will commence our operations immediately. Then if we go on down, the orders are from the main headquarters of the Enclave. Establish a field headquarters within the secluded fallout zone to the southeast of the sector. Initiate recovery of high-value equipment identified as residing within the sector. So obviously the Tesla cannon, the Hellfire armor, and obviously the incinerator. Eliminate non-Enclave personnel who compromise the location of the headquarters. Stand by for further orders from Redacted, and relief squad scheduled in Redacted. So it leaves it a little open-ended. I don't think there'll be any more added to Fallout 4. It would be awesome if it was, but I think we'll learn more about it maybe either through the TV series or indeed through the next Fallout whenever that comes out. As for the distribution, as you click into each of these encampments, it will show their location on the map. So additional encampments have been authorised at these locations. The sites will serve as staging operations for future incursions, ensure they are adequately fortified and well equipped. The southern one is south of Gunners Plaza, the Galaxy News Network building. It has laser turrets and standard issue weaponry. The eastern one is just east of Parsons Insane Asylum. And then the other one is, well, it says west, but it's west of the Dark Hollow Pond. I'm actually glad that it is there. It means Dark Hollow Pond has a reason to fast travel to it. So that's pretty neat. And then when you press this, it ends the lockdown, so you can leave the building. By using the elevator, you will get a bit of a hero's welcome when you get to the top. Nah, I'm just kidding. They're going to call in a vertibird and try and roast your ass for even coming near this place. Get to the roof, and you can actually find out why anyone would have came here. Before the update, you would have got the safe, and when you get up here, you would have got the fusion core. Now, all it is heavily fortified enclave position. With a vertibird that'll fly in, land a few additional troops, usually fly around and try and kill you. So, yeah, you can always pick up this guy's weapon, if you can kill him, and use it against the vertibird. So, the Atlantic offices are located directly north of the crater of Adam. Now, our next location, another interesting one, is called the Abandoned Shack. Now, this place, admittedly, does seem completely abandoned. It's off the same cabin that you find dotted across the Commonwealth. Not a big variety in design choices. But in here, you can find Installation K-21B's key and Bill's suitcase, and an evacuation plan. Now, if we have a look at the evacuation plan itself, it reads like this. Hello, government employee. With the threat of communist Chinese invasion increasing daily, you may find yourself thinking of what to do in case of a total atomic annihilation. Fear not. As a federal government worker, you have the privilege of being locked away safe and sound in the very place you work every day. Just follow these simple steps and instructions. If and when the bombs fall, you'll find yourself surrounded by your fellow employees waiting out the nuclear winter. Number 1. When you hear the alarms, drop everything. Do not bother packing, even personal belongings. Everything you need will be in your designated safety workplace. Head to your designated workplace, K-21B. Once inside, should radiation reach problem levels, an alarm will sound. Promptly close the doors and lock them. Do not open until a second warning bell sounds. Godspeed, good luck, and enjoy your better future underground. Supervisor's signature. It wasn't even signed. Once you enter using the key, it will rename itself to the Federal Installation K-21B. If you've made friends with the Institute, this place will be a breeze, but we'll want to listen to this employee personal log. It's very interesting, and we'll find all the nice collectibles in the way.
This is government employee number 011. Screw this government bullshit. This is Bazensky. Sirens. They came so fast. And the alarm. The only ones we could save were on duty. Stevens had left to get something out of his car. Stevens. He's gone. We had to close the door before he could even turn around. Protocol said we had to. I could hear him screaming. That was days ago. We're already running out of food. This place was not as well stocked as they claimed. Goddamn budget cuts. If anyone is listening to this, my name is Jeff Bazensky. Tell my wife, Wilma, that I love her. Goodbye.
For context, I believe the character that we found, because it said Bill's suitcase, was Bill Stevens. So that's the one they had to lock the door. Imagine running to your car at a really bad moment. This place is guarded by several synths. Now, you can activate the Protectrons if you need a wee bit of help. Sometimes just jumping down and doing that is, well, it's one way to do it. And there's normally a synth commander, a really high level one at the bottom. As for the power armor here, it can be XO1 if you are a high enough level. So be sure to visit visit later on when you are a higher level. And the other little thing you can miss is the mini nuke. Not to mention, there is also a skill book over here.
Yes.
This one is the Star Wars reference, not the soldiers you're looking for. Makes it more difficult for you to be detected. The mainframe terminal can be unlocked to turn the power on, which will let you exit via the elevator here because it's not functioning as we have yet to turn on the power. The other little thing is if you're really good at parkouring, you could do this. Now, alternatively, you drop from above. So let's pretend that you are good at parkouring, which apparently I'm not. All it is a little lunchbox over on the left side with some rat poison. An easier way is to just drop down from up here. So walk up, climb down the pipes, and boom, you can get yourself a nice lunchbox. With the terminal unlocked, the maintenance options means you can do a system reboot, and that will activate the, well, you can deactivate them because it will turn the robots on. They will be hostile to, I believe, everyone. But the synths will probably take care of them if you're using them that way. And then reactivate the emergency elevator so we can get on out of here. It does take a wee second for it to boot up. But once it does... Let's see. They are hostile towards me as well. At least they'll fight the synths. Right, let's go back to the surface, see where it takes us out. Exiting out. We're actually at the back, where this building has magically appeared. Did you notice it wasn't there when we approached earlier? I noticed that. It's kind of wild that it only spawns after the fact. So, now that it's called the Federal Surveillance Center, did you see all the radios that they had bugged, which were called their surveillance devices? Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, the Forgotten Church is west, and I find it a very unique spot. Forgotten it is. It's a wee bit like Hope's March, except completely in disarray. If we drop down, or you could conveniently use the collapsed tree to get inside. It's meant to be populated by ghouls, although I've never ever seen it have ghouls. There's also a steamer trunk. Now you might think, well, what's the catch? The catch is, the moment you drop down in here, you're going to have a friend. A very not friendly friend. A very angry friend. Who's going to appear and just be like, what are you doing at my forgotten church? This place is also featured in a role-playing board game for Fallout called, I think it's called Winter? Yeah, Winter of Adam, and the entrance to the Whitley Research Facility is just like right there beside the pew, which is kind of crazy and really awesome. I wish it was added into the game. Like, think of all the extra stuff we could have got out of it. Now, right, Mr. Deathclaw, there was just so much potential there. Now, this place is just strange. It's the Federal Supply Cache 84NE, and it's got just the remains of a bunker. It does have some turrets that will admittedly fire on you, and that can be a little inconvenient. Also, the Protectrons, one will always be a very difficult, like a much higher leveled one, so if you come here at a high level, he may actually be very difficult to take down. Activating the circuit breakers will turn everything on, including them. Unlocking the terminal, though, will allow us access into here, getting us a lot of ammo and whatever you can find in the duffel bag, as well as a weapon workbench, so if you need to do a bit of tinkering whilst you're out here, it's a convenient place to do it. You could cherry hiding in the back here, as well as a few foot lockers that might also have some equipment, and dumbbells. Lots of dumbbells. If you need lead, this is certainly a place to call in. Grab what you can, fast travel back, and wash, rinse, and repeat. When you walk out, be very wary of the turrets that have now activated. They can be a little overwhelming, so it's always good to bear that in mind. Now, we're actually going a little further north towards Natick, where you can find the Natick Patrol. This Deathclaw is just, he's always here. Just right at this exact spot. Right here, just does a wee patrol route back and forth. But what's very close to him is a little military checkpoint. And you know what's at military checkpoints? Yeah, power armor. It's on the edge of the glowing sea, so I believe it counts. And you never know, you can get yourself quite a bit of a suit here. Not a bad find. Of course, we're just on the banks of Lake Cockatuit. Now, the next two things coming up are they're just fun. I love little finds like this, especially hidden supplies, things that you may note in your next run. You'll go, hey, I'm going to call in there and pick it up. So, let's go to the first one. This is a little toxic pond. You've probably passed it an awful lot when you're going towards the glowing sea from Natick, but did you know that inside of the pipe is a little chem box? Again, for some rads, you could get some decent meds. It's located directly here, southwest of Natick Banks, and to be honest, is just a fantastic little find that I hope many of you use in future playthroughs. Next up is the Crazy Cat Lady. We're not entirely sure what she was doing all the way out here. Maybe she was just watching the sun rise when the bombs fell. Although it would have been pretty much early morning at that point. Although it's in October, so maybe that might have been the case. Either way, she's sitting here with her 2 cat bulls. Maybe they were her prized possession. And now all that's left is her remains here as a little memorial just over to the western side of Nottock Banks. Now, there is debate to whether this power station counts as the Glowing Sea, but the fact that it's unmarked and there's a behemoth fighting 2 Deathclaws, I think it is worthwhile just showing you this place, because it is amusing. Except the fact that there's 3 Deathclaws, and this one behemoth might have to save my bacon, because I am being chased right now. If you all know where this place is, it is directly west of Nottock Banks over here. While venturing around, you will come across this Little Ghoul Lake. It seems that the radioactive water does them wonders, as they're kind of just using this as some sort of spa area, but for ghouls. And where there are ghouls, there tend to be rad scorpions. When you come over here to grab some supplies in the toolbox, you may think you're getting an easy time, but oh no. These rad scorpions have something else in mind for you altogether. Right. Now, let's go and visit the edge of the Glowing Sea, as it has an unmarked location directly above it. So this is what is defined as the edge of the Glowing Sea, because it's before the rads start to get really bad. But when you reach a certain point where you're sent to the Sentinel site by the Brotherhood, you will get a new location that isn't on the map any other time. This is called Waypoint Echo. And the funny thing about it is, everything here respawns really fast, so the paladins and the turret will always respawn, I think within like a day. So you can essentially farm Brotherhood of Steel here, if you decide to turn on them. Pretty cool, I would say. Now, I did promise you an unmarked location above the edge of the Glowing Sea, and you're going to get just that. Walk directly above the marker, and right along, and you'll find this camp with a raider, occasionally legendary, a raider and his dog, and plenty of money. It seems he was raiding caravans and keeping himself to himself here. Oh, a combat rifle. Not bad at all, good sir, not bad at all. Where is your dog? I wish to pet him. There he is. Who is a good boy? Alright, now let's investigate something that has just bewildered me throughout this game. The Vertibird Wreckage. So this is the Vertibird Wreckage. Now let me tell you what it should have been. When the Brotherhood sends you to the Sentinel site in order to get the bombs for Liberty Prime, they should have said something about they sent a forward team and the Vertibird has crashed nearby, and then this location would have existed. I think it would have fed more into the story of this is a very dangerous area and the fact that a Vertibird would crash. You know, from the Brotherhood, you could get some stuff from the wreckage. Maybe the crew survived and they would help you take the Sentinel site. Not that you really need help. The enemies in there aren't that bad. But the fact that it just exists as nothing more than just an object. I wish I could say more about it. And I'm an expert in unmarked locations because I've been spending that much time doing them. The fact that a marked location that has almost no travel value, it blows my mind that it exists. But that is my theory. It should have been a Crash Brotherhood one that's sent to the Sentinel site before you. I think that would have been a really cool way to sort of bring it in. Now, we're going to go to the relay tower, an unmarked location, then we'll cap it off with the Sentinel site. Now, this particular relay tower OBD has 3 signals once you activate it and turn on the relays. It'll send one to Skylane's Flight 1665, the Mayday signal. The other one is to a signal in the Hope's March Pentecostal Church. And the last one is to the cave, the southern one that isn't discovered here for some reason. That's where you find the Raider power armor we found earlier. So there are the 3 signals that you get from here. And if you're doing the best of 3 quest, you do, of course, find Vault 95 gunners here as well, as you're progressing along to finding the Tesla cannon. Lastly, 2 honourable mentions before we get on to the Sentinel site. We have this area where you can find some rad scorpions battling rad roaches. Another buried manor house with some first aid and equipment for you. And then we've got a rather large playground that is actually still You can still see every bit of it. It's probably the biggest playground in Fallout 4, if I'm to be so bold as to make that statement. You would think there'd be something in the submerged saucer, but sadly not. Just highly irradiated water that you wouldn't want your kids playing here, put it that way. These are located, of course, just north of the Capsize factory and the Atlantic offices. Now, the location you've all been waiting for, the Giant Pyramid. This is the Sentinel site where you can find all these really nasty nuclear weapons that are just sitting in their crates, just dotted about. Yet none of them detonated to cause the problem you're seeing, and these appear to be, well, ventilation towers of some sort. Even though it technically was a launch site. I suppose the missiles would have been launched out of here, if anything. And the exit is located to the rear. Now, let's go inside to show you a wee bit of the story to it, as well as the unique interaction you can have if you complete Far Harbor before doing this mission. The door alone to get inside is so cool. Even though it's like every other bank vault, there's just a wee bit of charm to the fact that old Longfellow teleported inside. Inside this is quite the complex. Making our way down the steps. If you go to the right, you can head down. You'll just get some tools before eventually having to head over here. Pressing the button will gain us access. And from here, we can use this terminal to get inside the next one. Open the blast doors. Except you can't get in, so you need a holotape. There's also an astoundingly awesome tail that gains you 5 radiation resistance. Giant insects invade. Nice. So, to get into the blast door, you need to use the override. All you do is load it in, go down to the Sentinel site, blast door override, and once you put it in, it'll open the doors. In each of them, you just get a little story on the terminal, so we'll have a little browse. Pod Alpha launch report. Observation Pod A. Test launch 23. Observing party Richard Elmsby. We're obviously still having issues integrating the Mark 28 nuclear bomb with our existing ICBMs. Most likely to do with the transitional coupler not latching correctly. I'm going to check with maintenance and see if there's something they can do. You can close the blast door, or you can, well, eject another override tape, which you may need later on. I'm assuming this is Richard. Unlucky Richard, bad time to go into the office, wasn't it? Although if you phoned in sick, I don't know if that would have been a better option for you. Heading on down here, we can actually walk into the center console, where again, more toolboxes and things you can find. I always check these boxes in hopes that there's something in it. Sometimes you get rewarded, most times not, but we try anyway. Into the next section. As I said, at the very end of the Sentinel site, you have a little, let's just say, unique way to deal with a certain party. Right, going all the way back down to our Sentinel blast door override, we can get into Pod B. This one has another little story to it. So, let's see. Pod B. Observing party Patrick Tharn. The bad news is we've caused irreparable damage to all the Mark 28s we used in this test. The good news is we have an almost endless supply in the munitions depot. Where do we keep getting these things? So, when you are in, be sure to always eject and take another site blast door override. I think there may be a third one. So, let's continue on our adventures through this place. And down onto this level, where we can find yet another one. We can abort the launch sequence, obviously because we got a direct strike. I don't know if any of the nukes were ever launched from this place. It's hard to know. Now, once you do get down to this level, you can get yourself quite a lot of gear. Although, do be very careful, there is a lot of dead children of Adam, and you're about to find out there's a lot of mole rats. This is one of my favourite things. You get to this point and just a horde of ghouls just fanatically runs out towards you. There's a little hole in the side of the building though. And inside you can find the children of Adam. You find a little area to hold up. Not that it did him all that much good. he still ended up like the rest of them. I don't know who killed them all first. Was it the Farrells? Was it the Mole Rats? Was it a combination of both? Possibly a combination of both. So, let's carry on further into Sentinel Site Prescott. There's a few things you can find along the way. So, a keen eye is always good. You get to a little fork in the road. Over to the right is a barracks. More Children of Adam corpses can be found here. And other items for you to pick up. If we go into the left, you can find yet another hole in the wall where a few mole rats can be found. And a Vault-Tec lunchbox. That one was rather sneaky, wasn't it? As we continue on our travels through the complex pipework of this nuclear launch facility, you come to another fork. Going into the left is another room full of lovely ghouls waiting to greet you as you come on in. So don't be fooled by any means. Taking the right route will take you further into the facility. It's recommended you don't really come here until you're doing the quest line, because I don't think you can actually get by a certain part until this point. Also the lift, that's got a really interesting point to it as well. As I said, you actually can't get in because this door will be blocked unless you're doing the quest line. I should have mentioned when we were in that flooded room, just off to the side here, there is another lunchbox hiding behind this mini nuke. So now we're here and the quest is active. You can get inside and you can find Henry.
State your purpose, stranger. You walk on Atom's hallowed ground.
And now you can actually use I'm a Child of Adam, because you are, if you've completed enough in Far Harbor with the Children of Adam.
It's all right, brother. I am a child of Adam too. I'm part of a church up north, the Nucleus, near a town called Far Harbor.
Far Harbor. You've seen Atom's holy veil, but you have traveled so far. I apologize. I will not keep you from finishing your pilgrimage. Take this, and prepare to enter his inner sanctum. Follow the brilliance of the glow, and it shall lead you to the relics. May Atom's radiance warm your soul.
So that's a very unique line that a lot of people may have never seen. And there's also Adam's Wrath, who is a unique Assaultron, who will promptly do a serious number on you if you're not prepared. Using Henry's password now, we can open the door. You can still turn the turret off if you decide to take him out. He also carries on him some orders.
May Atom guide.
Or is it in the... He actually does carry Henry's instructions, but in order to get them, you have to encourage them. A little bit of encouragement, put it that way. Let's have a read. Brother Henry, I have prayed to Adam, and in his wisdom he has chosen you to guard the site of his relics. Serve him well, protect the relics. The torn part states, serve him well, protect the relics until such a time as you are called for, or Adam himself returns to claim them. So there you go. Now, let's have a listen to Private Dunleavy's holotape as we go find a mini nuke.
This is Captain Mitch Dunleavy, 132nd Engineering Corps at Sentinel Site Prescott. All lines of communication are down, and we're tracking multiple inbounds on radar. This is a drill. We need confirmation immediately. We've got a lot of nervous soldiers over here, Command. This is the big one. They want to head home to their families before it's too late. Some of the inbounds are getting awfully close. Wait a minute. The inbounds are splitting into multiple targets? Oh, hell. This is it, isn't it? May God have mercy on our souls.
Quite the collection of nukes to have here for Liberty Prime. Set the signal pulsar and you won't have to worry. And then the final part of this entire place is basically delivered to you. Yeah. See the wee enemy symbol right at the bottom there? You gotta prepare for a pretty good fight. You're not being allowed to leave here easily. And a glowing one appears. After a few shots, he's pretty easy to take down. Take the steamer trunk before pressing the button and heading right up to the surface. There is a welcome party when you exit this place. And by welcome party, it's the glowing sea. So you've probably become accustomed to exactly what that means. It's not good. Once you get up here, you will not have weather like this, I assure you. You walk on down. Now, there's going to be a few blood bugs. And then, what should start running in this direction is the welcome party. At least it always happens for me. I wouldn't have thought it was a random encounter. Perhaps it was. Usually a horde of ghouls starts running towards this place. Instead, I've got blood bugs. But I hope it was pretty useful to show you all what the glowing sea can look like in good weather, as we discovered every secret there is to find in quite a small but very compact area. So I'll catch us all in the next one. Thank you for watching.